move to the evolution of fantasy sub-panel. Dr. Lee, over to you, Alba.
I'd like to thank you, everyone who made this possible, and I hope you like it. Thank you for coming. So, vampire novels have been really popular for the last 2 centuries. During this time, women all around the world were becoming aware of their power and started fighting for their rights. From the 60s on, feministic ideals have progressively become more radical and widely spread around the United States. Also, at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st, blood drinkers became even more successful in literature, especially among the youngest. Most of them are quite oriented to young women, and a great majority of the stories are told by a female narrator. However, the women in vampire books show the corresponding real-world evolution of women in society. To show the conclusions which I have read about these matters, I have chosen to compare 2 of the most famous vampire sagas nowadays, Stephanie Meyer's Twilight and the Southern Vampire Mysteries by Charlie Harris. Even if it might be of some relevance that Mayo was brought up as a Mormon, that the slope of my research isn't centered on authors' lives, so I won't go into these details. For historical references, I have used Estelle Freedman's No Turning Back and Alice Echols' Daring to be Bad books about feminism. So first, I'm going to start talking about women in the Twilight Saga. Having a girl as a protagonist and narrator, readers might have expected a much more feministic point of view in these books. However, this idea is far from being accurate. Bella Swan is in fact a poor character with a nameless life who allows men around her to make decisions for her and who fits better in the role of a perfect Victorian novel protagonist than a real heroine of our time. First of all, she's not comfortable or eager to build a close relationship with her parents or friends from high school, and gets annoyed when boys get interested in her. Also, she is prone to feel sad and has a very low self-esteem, just like a typical tragic and suffering female character from an 18th century book. However, she never considers living on her own to enjoy solitude and freedom, and when she feels sad or angry, she stays within the 4 walls of her bedroom at her father's house. As René Edoloch points out in his article, The Anti-Feminist Character Bella Swan, or Why the Twilight Saga is Regressive, most of the few decisions she makes have to do with the housework and getting the food ready, which she decides are her duties. And she very rarely goes out with friends. This protagonist will perfectly fit in a traditional society with separate spheres for men and women. Also, she constantly points out that she does not find her place in the modern world. Her life changes when she meets Edward, a teenager-looking vampire, who becomes the center of her life. She suffers when they are separated and gets into a deep depression and even thinks about committing suicide when he finishes the relationship. After that, she doesn't want to have a proper life again and performs basic necessary activities just in order to make her father happy. Things get a little better when she starts meeting her childhood friend Jacob. Although they are just friends, Bella knows that he is in love with her. And after a few months, she decides that, even if she does not really love him, she might become his girlfriend. She does not start dating him just because Edward comes back. In other words, she's only happy when she has a partner, and being with someone is her only real purpose in life, which is something Edoloch mentions too. She constantly feels she is not enough for Edward and thinks the only way to become prettier and more graceful is to be turned into a vampire. This means she will have to move with Edward's family and leave everything she knows, like women did in ancient patriarchal cultures. But she's willing to do so, and wants the transformation to take place as soon as possible so that she will not look older than Edward when he became a vampire. She's really unhappy when he insists that they should get married and she must finish high school before, but accepts his will. Another statement Bella takes for granted from the very beginning is that she cannot take care of herself, and like Edoloch underlines, she will always need to be protected. She is, in fact, quite clumsy, and all the vampires and werewolves have to take turns to protect her from enemies, bad weather conditions, and accidents. Also, her father, who is a policeman, and his male friends rescue her on other occasions. She never takes part in battles or asks anyone to teach her how to be able to fight and improve her feeble position, and she enjoys being looked after both by Edward and Jacob. Although her ideas and point of view on other areas may seem quite old-fashioned, Bella is really interested in having sex with Edward both before and after becoming a vampire. She does not want to wait until they are married and provokes him on a few occasions. However, she is rejected and sent to sleep like she was a little child. I think this is quite humiliating and degrading for an adult. That way, her virginity is kept until she is married, a classic symbol of women's sexual repression. The only really remarkable thing she ever fights for is giving birth to Edward's baby, even if at some point everyone is sure that this wish will kill her. The many descriptions of Bella going through lots of pain and terrible decisions, such as drinking blood in order to keep the baby alive, reinforce the patriarchal stereotype of the perfect woman too, willing to create a family and sacrifice anything for them. The other women in the books, like her friends from high school or other vampires in the family, all have a partner or are trying to find one. Even Victoria, their biggest enemy through the second and third book, wants to kill Bella only because she wants to avenge her boyfriend's death. Edward's beautiful and slim sister, Rosaline and Alice, also reinforce all this patriarchal stereotype of women who keep their homes full of beauty, cleanliness, and affection for their relative. The first, Rosaline, is always moody with everyone, but deeply respects her parents and her partner, and behaves in a quite more humble way in front of them. She also has an obsession with babies and children, and part of her bitterness is due to her being unable to have one. She studied medicine, but has never helped anyone on her own. She only assists her father with his patients as if she was a nurse. The second, Alice, likes buying clothes, organizing and hosting parties, and trying on new makeup and hairdos. All the vampires in this book have a different special skill, but while men take perfect advantage of them, Alice often seems overwhelmed by her capacity to see the future. The only single females we read about are those belonging to the Volturi Coven. They also enjoy their powers and know how to use them. Jane is, for example, extremely self-confident, and even Victoria, the enemy I have mentioned before, creates such a large and dangerous army that vampires have to ask werewolves for help. However, these women lack any kind of sympathy for other beings and are extremely cruel. It seems that due to not having men as partners or having important positions and knowing the outside world, reserved to men in patriarchal societies, turns them cold and dehumanized. So now I'm gonna talk about the women in the Southern Vampire Mysteries. Suki Stackhouse, the protagonist of these books, fits better in the 21st century heroine role. Unlike Bella, she lives on her own and she is happy and proud to be alone. Although her boyfriends, friends and relatives go to her home often and some stay for long periods, she never thinks of sharing her place with anyone for a long term or moving with any of her lovers. She knows how to enjoy solitude and often spends time watching TV, reading, surfing the internet, or drinking a coffee at her porch. Suki does not have a brilliant curriculum, but she has always got what she wanted by trying hard and not giving up. She had problems with other teenagers in high school because she is a telepath, and decided not to go to college since concentrating concentrating for exams was too difficult. But she is always borrowing books from the public library and tries to learn a new word every day by the word of the day calendar that she repeatedly mentions. She considers herself quite well educated and thinks she is intelligent because she learns a lot from her new experiences and friends. Also, she has a job as a bartender. She has had a job as a bartender for a few years, and her boss trusts her. She helps him so much that after some more years, she will become his partner and own half of the business. Although she tries to be cheerful, loving and caring most of the time, like women are supposed in many patriarchal societies, at the same time, she is quite balanced, and when she feels somebody is abusing her, she clearly says no to whatever they are asking for. Moreover, if anyone betrays her or lies to her, she finishes or changes her relationship with them. For example, when she knows that her first boyfriend, Bill, lied to her about the beginning of their love story and he had some secret politic-related interests in her, she splits with him, and although she misses him and thinks about him often, she never goes back with him. Also, it is true that she gets into big trouble because of men, especially vampires, around her. But she usually asks them for huge amounts of money or big favors, such as immunity, whenever they require their services as a telepath or if they need her to take part in their plans. That is, when she realizes she will be constantly bothered by all kinds of creatures because of her abilities or for having influence and friends, she decides to take advantage of it, breaking all the love and care for nothing 19th century stereotypes. She is a virgin at the beginning, but she is interested in sex, and she did not try it before